boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Indeed, Matt and I are in studio. Producer John controlling CRN Live on YouTube as we get into a big week of news. Whew. Starting with the details of how NASCAR is going to determine its champions in the Trucks, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and Cup Series this year. We're also going to give you a tease look at Cadillac's first F1 ride, and it's a massive tease. The NHRA is letting us know how the 2026 Outlaw Nitro Series is going to go, and there's money involved. Pretty serious money, which, if you followed this over the past, year or so that we've been talking about the NHRA, that shouldn't come as a shock. More on the 75th anniversary celebration of the NHRA. And are any racers on the top 2025 earning athletes list? All that and so much more to be revealed on this week's CRN. Next.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Well, let's get into things here and kick it off by first giving, some bad news to the fans of the show. We're going to take next weekend off, but we're going to be working as well. National Motorsports Press Association has the annual convention, and it happens to be next week. So Matt and I are going to be hitting the road early, right about showtime, by the way. So just to make sure that we get involved and everything. And we're doing our level best to be much more involved in the NMPA here over the last couple of years. So we want to make sure that we're in there for as much, if not everything that's going on up in Charlotte as we can possibly be. So, yeah, we're going to be taking next weekend off. We'll be back in 2 weeks for the big show. We will do a Cross Flags episode this week. Special alert to producer John. Might be a home game Tuesday evening. Just letting you know. All right? Now that he knows all that, let's see what we can get into. First of all, how you doing this morning, man?
I'm here.
I understand.
Some medication changes have got me feeling rough, but I'm here.
Yeah. Voice is sounding a little...
Yeah, it's not very good this morning.
That's all right. We'll make it through. We're worried about your knowledge, not the quality of your voice. Don't worry about that. By the way, took all of 2 races for the brand of Citroën to claim their first ever win in Formula E competition. It's not, however, like this is a brand new team. I mean, this is a rebranded team, really. It's the one that used to be Maserati. It's sister team kind of to Nissan. Sebastian Buemi put his Envision Racing entry on the pole. That was about the best he could do, though. The Citroën drivers, Nick Cassidy, Jean-Eric Verne, they didn't qualify well. 14th and 16th, respectively, but it didn't challenge him. In fact, Cassidy took it as a challenge. Wanted to better his season opening finish of 3rd place, so he used his attack mode to his best advantage, and when the race was over, he not only heard he had bettered his 3rd place finish, but got the win in a tight race. Top 5, all within about a second of each other at the finish line. Cassidy's your winner. Eduardo Mortara claims 2nd. Oliver Rowland 3rd. Then Taylor Bernard, Jake Dennis, Pascal Wehrlein. Rookie Joseph Maria Marti gets a top 10. Jean-Eric Verne is also in the top 10, despite the other Citroën qualifying outside of that. Nico Moller, Norman Nato. Then you got pole sitter Sebastian Buemi. He suffered some pretty big problems. He could do no better than 17th on the day. I think he got involved, ran over some of the debris from an early race crash or something like that.
Yep.
Nick Cassidy takes the points lead. He's got 40, 36 for Jake Dennis, 34 for Oliver Rowland, Pascal Wehrlein, 23, and in 5th is Eduardo Mortara with 18. Citroën now takes the team standings lead with 44, 36 for Andretti. Nissan and Porsche tied at 35. Mahindra and DS Penske tied at 20. Envision's got 13, 6 for Cooper Kuro. Lola's got a point. Jaguar remains scoreless on the season so far. And as far as the manufacturer standings, those who provide the battery power, so to speak, Stellantis on top with 62, 55 for Porsche. Nissan 39, 22 Mahindra. Jaguar 19. Lola holds 4 for the 6th and final slot in that chase. By the way, last week, if you were listening, and thank you very much for doing so, obviously, the Chili Bowl Nationals that I mistakenly put on the slate for last weekend actually happens tonight. Pre-race ceremony starting about 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and then Tony Stewart, the 2-time Chili Bowl winner himself, is going to play Grand Marshal to get the finals rolling tonight. All that can be seen on Flow Racing if you are interested. And I've heard a few people talking about their time out there, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more because Tony Stewart got to talking about it this week and actually kind of laid down something of a challenge. You think about the past couple of years that we've been covering this and kind of talking about the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. And it's interesting. There's a kind of line of demarcation there. IndyCar drivers who like to moonlight tend to drift over to the Rolex 24 Hours, whereas the NASCAR drivers preseason who like to moonlight, they tend to drift over to the Chili Bowl Nationals. Mm-hmm. Tony Stewart would like to see a little bit more Chili Bowl Nationals. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, looking at the schedule of events for today, 9:15. No, 9:00. Yeah, no, 9:15. Yeah, the Q main rolls off. Q main, and
I mean, we're talking like 400 drivers. I mean, you got to whittle them down.
And the D main, they run the Q main all the way through the H main. And then at 2:05, they'll do track maintenance and track prep. And then at 3:15, the G main starts. And then at 6 o'clock, the pole shuffle. And then 6:30, opening ceremonies. Grand Marshal and Parade of States. Mm-hmm. C main, B main, and A main doesn't start until 10 o'clock tonight.
Hopefully you got some caffeine if you're staying up for that. All right. So since we got all the business done at hand, let you know that next week we were not going to be on the air. Once again, probably do a home game for producer John for the podcast, Cross Flags podcast this week, which, again, if you are not familiar with it, you can find it each and every week. We upload it to CRN Live on YouTube, and it's on a couple of other places, including the fact that you can just listen to it because we do have a Spotify audio version as well. Something that we did talk about, and we talked about it at good length, but it's, let's face it, this is big news and it bears repeating. So we're going to repeat ourselves, and I'm not risking it. I don't care. It's not a risk because this is that kind of big news. As much as we detailed it on Cross Flags Tuesday, or Monday, I should say, NASCAR, now that they got past not only the trial, but the resignation of soon-to-be former Commissioner Steve Phelps, whose last day is actually the last day of this month, decided to announce how the All-Star panel has decided how the 2026 championships will be decided in Cup, O'Reilly Auto Parts, and Craftsman Truck Series. This wasn't just NASCAR going out there and saying, hey, we're going to do it ourselves. They brought in Mark Martin. They brought in Dale Jr. They brought in several other people that had been racing in NASCAR's top levels in the past. They talked to some media officials like Bob Pockris and I think one or two people from either Fox Sports or NBC, whatever. So they did spread this out and say, okay, what are the ideas? There's no such thing as a bad idea. They banded it all about. From everything that we heard, Mark Martin was adamant that we needed to go 36 races, period, end of sentence. And when NASCAR said, no, we can't go that far, but we'll meet you part of the way, what do we do now? They finally came up with it. Now, first, here's the good part about it. Drop the word playoffs. It's out. No more word of playoffs. In truth, it really wasn't a playoff anyway. It was just elimination from contention for the title. Stick and ball sports, you get a situation where a team loses a playoff game or a playoff series, as the case may be. They're done for the season. They go vacationing, they go golfing, they go water skiing, snow skiing, whatever it is that they're going to do. And the winning team moves on and hopefully goes on for a championship, right? In NASCAR, they all still raced, but they just didn't do it for a championship, okay? So there you go. Instead of playoffs, we're back to the old chase. Remember that? About, 10 years ago, I guess?
Yeah, something like that.
Give or take. In Cup form, we're going to deal with the other two series in a bit. It's still 10 races, still includes 16 drivers seeking the title, but there's no more 3-3-3-1 race format. Instead, like the regular season, the postseason, the chase, is a total points effort accumulated over that course of 10 races. So, real quick, 26 race regular season for the Cup Series. Accumulate all the points that you can. Top 16, regardless of wins. If you just make the top 16 in points, you go into the chase. And then you reset it and you do it all again. We'll talk about those points in a minute. So things eliminated. Playoffs. More importantly, I just noted it, win and you're in. That's right. Just because you win a race does not mean you will go. So, for example, Daytona 500. Doesn't matter if it's Chase Elliott or Matt Nicholson. Didn't matter. Before, like last year, you won that race, you were in the playoffs, you could coast. You could do all kinds of things that you wanted to do. Now, you win the Daytona 500, you get a great trophy. Congratulations for you. But you're still going to have to work. This, to me, and I'll give you something of a preview of who I'm probably going to pick for the 2026 title, benefits those drivers who are just absolutely solid and, to borrow the golf phrase, can hit it down the fairway every single time they're driving the ball off the tee. And that goes to the driver who I just mentioned. This is a perfect format for Chase Elliott.
Yep.
Because they and the 9 team are just massively and somewhat maddeningly consistent.
They are. They are.
All right.
For sure.
Now, that being said, winning does not come without benefits. So we talked about the fact that win and you're in is out, but we do have the winner of a race claiming 55 points. And that's big because previously all you got was 40 points. And yes, that was a 5-point advantage over second place, which got 35. But now we're making it bigger. Now you got a 20-point advantage just for winning the race. Stages are still in effect. That is disappointing to some people, but it's there. You're not going to get rid of it, not anytime soon.
Right.
So here's the situation. So you get 55 points if you get a win. If you happen to be a driver who's just flat out dominant on the day at whatever track you happen to be in, you could get 10 points for winning first stage, 10 points for winning the second stage, 55 points for winning the race. That's 75 points right off the bat. And oh, by the way, there's one other point that's available to you. It's called the Xfinity Fastest Lap Award. Mm-hmm. So if you have what Formula One loves to call the perfect race, 76 points.
Yep.
And second place can do no better than 35 at that point in time because, again, you swept the stages and you got the fastest lap.
Yeah, the de facto Grand Slam.
So an advantage by being able to be that dominant driver in a race is a 41-point advantage, and that's nothing to sneeze at.
No, not at all.
Stages, like I said, remain in place. Then we got same 10 races. We'll talk about that. If you happen to be looking at CRN Live on YouTube, look down at the bottom right there. Here's where we get into kind of an interesting situation because those 16 drivers, once we get into the chase, and this is the Cup Series, mind you, you get in a situation where we reset the points and the regular season champion gets 2,100 points. Second place is 2,075. Now, you could have built up a humongous lead, but it's going to drop down once you get from regular season into the chase. But still, 25-point lead isn't that bad. Second place over third place has a 10-point advantage. So 2,100 to 2,075, 2,065, and then you're going to drop 5 points all the way down to 16th, which has 2,000. But again, you think about this. And this was the same exact example that I gave on the Cross Flags podcast. And just putting Matt and I in this situation. Let's say Matt's your regular season champion, and I happen to sneak in and get 16th, which is the most likely scenario because he's the better driver, and I'll admit it. Now, over the course of 10 races, I do still have a fighting chance to catch up to him. Because like I just said, if you can actually get on a hot streak and you can start winning races, you can make up that ground over 10 races. It is feasible.
Yeah.
And what this does effectively, this takes us back to that same format that we saw in 2011 when Tony Stewart came in and said in all of the pre-chase hoopla in media meetings that he didn't feel like he or the 14 team deserved to be there. And then what did he do? He wheeled off 5 wins in 10 races and claimed the title. Mm-hmm. We're back to that format.
Yep.
So this rewards the consistency that the drivers, most notably Mark Martin, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. also was kind of touting, and several other drivers had touted. Mm-hmm. They wanted the consistency more over the course of the season, but this leads to a compromise. And the thing about compromises is the fact that not everybody's going to walk away perfectly happy. But it's the best way to make as many people at the table as happy as you can.
True. Very, very true.
I mean, you get a bunch of people in a room, you're never going to get to a point where everybody agrees 100% on everything.
No, I mean, and it keeps from somebody like, like a Austin Dillon or a Harrison Burton coming in, slipping in, winning a race, just having a good day and winning a race.
Yeah.
And knocking somebody out that's been very consistent through the year, like Chris Buescher or Brad Keselowski.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, they were both quite consistent, but they just kept getting knocked down because you saw either a Harrison Burton, like you said, or an Austin Dillon claim an odd win, even though there were, 28th to 32nd in the standings when they claimed the win.
Yeah, it keeps this from happening, and which that's a good thing because people like them that has not been consistent through the year, and they win one race and then they take a spot from somebody that's being consistent. That's not right because you automatically know they're going to get bounced round one.
Yeah.
And that's a waste of a spot.
Here's the deal. Whatever stick and ball sport you want to talk about, when they talk about getting into the playoffs, when they talk about determining a champion, we're in the NFL playoffs right now. We're in the NCAA playoffs right now. For example, championship game coming up on Monday. We're looking to pit the best against the best, the teams that play consistently and win throughout the course of the season and then can do it later. This idea is a great way to take your best 16 that performed this coming year in 2026 and say, okay, you battle it out for the title.
Right.
And not have, Joe Blow, who happens to claim Daytona or Talladega or, lucks into a win because of rain or whatever.
Right.
And he's going to get bounced out in the first round anyway.
Right. Like a couple years ago, Daytona, if Justin Haley had been full time, won the rain shortened race at Daytona,
yeah,
he would have had a spot.
Yeah, but probably would have been bounced out in the first round.
Would have been bounced out in the first round because Spire was not very good back then.
Yeah, and it could be argued that they are not quite as good now, but you got to watch out for them at the road courses, man, because their road course game is strong with SVG and now Connor Zilisch. Good night. By the way, same 10 races that we knew were going to be in the postseason before, Chaser playoffs. This was already announced in the schedule when it came out late last year. So those same 10 races are going to be used. You start at Darlington on Labor Day weekend. You go through Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway to Bristol to Kansas, Las Vegas, the Roval, Phoenix, Talladega, Martinsville, and Homestead, Miami. So that doesn't change. You can see that schedule right there if you're on CRN Live on YouTube. Just talked about how the playoff points system will break down. So we're not going to get back into that. And again, you know, this whole thing, again, there's a whole lot of compromising here, and I get that. And you're not going to make everybody perfectly happy. Me, I look at it this way. If I'm the driver, my job is to go out there and drive and to play by the rules, whatever those rules happen to be. Yep. I don't have to be happy about it, but I'm paid to get in the car and I'm paid to go in and drive and win the championship under the rules format that we got.
Mm-hmm.
Would I have liked to see them go back to a full 36 race from race 1 to race 36 deal? Yeah, I could say that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and here's the danger with this. We've said this before, and I'll say it again. Here's the danger with this. I just went over those races that we were talking about here. If somebody is dominant, you know, to put Matt back in the position of being the regular season champion, so he marches into the chase with the 2,100 points. If he continues a hot streak, Matt could conceivably claim the title by, I don't know, could you do it after Phoenix? Possibly mathematically. More realistically, you could easily clinch it after the Talladega race.
You could. That it would have to be, you'd have to be absolute lights out.
I mean, you have to be on it, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it is possible. I mean, the problem that we have seen, and this is the situation that Formula One's got, despite the fact that last year we went into the final race of the year with 3 drivers eligible to claim the title, we have seen years, not that long ago, when Max Verstappen had technically claimed the title with half a dozen races to go.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main reasons I think why NASCAR officials were so adamant that they didn't want to do the full 1 to 36 race deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because they could foresee that is a possibility. So, you know, this is the best compromise. Again, is it the greatest system on the planet? I can't call it the greatest system on the planet, no. Is it a good compromise? Yeah, it's a good compromise. And I think that this does a better job of making the drivers say, okay, yeah, just because I won an early season race, because we start off in the Cup Series with Daytona, then we go Atlanta, Echo Park Speedway, and then COTA, right?
Yep.
This keeps the team on their toes instead of going, oh, we got to win. Okay, we're good now.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
Are you hungry, Lincoln? D Ford.
2 tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back into the show. And speaking of the chase format, that does drop down to both the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, formerly Xfinity Series, and the Craftsman Truck Series, but it changes a little bit because if you think about it, 36 race regular season for the Cup Series, 33 race regular season for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. So they decided to go ahead and play with that a little bit. Same basic format, but instead of a 10 race chase in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, it's a 9 race chase. I think that's actually a pretty decent move.
It is.
Kind of keeps the percentages right.
Yeah.
As far as the point system, let's say Matt won the regular season of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. He gets 21 points. If I'm the final one of the 12 drivers, that number remains the same as well, by the way. If I'm the 12th driver in that, to borrow that scenario, instead of dropping all the way down to 2,000, I'm at 2,020 points. You can see it at the bottom of the screen there if you're at on CRN Live on YouTube. Otherwise, it's 2,100, 2,075, 2,065, 2,060, and so on down the line. So 12th place has an 80-point deficit, only 9 races, not 10, in order to make up the deficit if they can do it. Truck Series is an even shorter season than the O'Reilly Auto Parts, so instead of 10 or 9 races, Truck Series is going to compete over 7 races. 10 drivers. The 10 drivers doesn't change. The 7 races versus the 10 does. Points leader starts off at 2,100. The 10th place driver comes in at 2,030, so a 70-point deficit. So, again, makes sense. Cup Series longest race season, then O'Reilly Auto Parts, then trucks. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Any problems there?
Nope.
Okay.
Not at all.
When looking at this, again, noting it's a compromise, you were kind of like Martin, if I remember correctly. You wanted the full race slate, correct?
Yep. I was wanting 36.
Okay. Are you happy with this?
I can live with it.
Okay. You're not jumping up and down for joy, but you can live with it?
Yeah, I can live with it.
I gotcha.
I'm not doing backflips down the backstretch at Talladega, but I'm good with it.
I'd like to see that, actually.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Something found out about just this morning. NASCAR played with the rule book a little bit. They clarified a couple of things here. We mentioned the Xfinity fastest lap. New rule states that any car that has gone into the garage for repairs and comes back out onto the track is no longer eligible for the award and the point that it gives out. I don't have a problem with that move.
Nope.
Not at all. For the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, NASCAR's lowered the minimum age to compete on tracks less than 1.5 miles long from 18 down to 17. This actually is a split of the difference. In the Cup Series, you have to be 18 years old to compete, period, end of sentence. Mm-hmm. If you're in the Truck Series, to compete on tracks less than 1.5 miles long, you have to be at least 16. You have to be 18 for 1.5 miles and longer. But the shorter tracks and road courses, you can be 16. Mm-hmm. This splits the difference now. O'Reilly Auto Parts at 17.
Yep.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's fair.
In O'Reilly and trucks, considering they all still use the 5 lug nut wheel, loose missing lug nut rule has been altered. If 19 of the 20 lug nuts are tight, the team loses pit selection for the next race. So that's not as harsh as it used to be. If 18 or 17 of the lug nuts are missing or loose, then the team gets hit with a $5,000 fine in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and a $2,500 fine in the Truck Series, plus a suspension of a crew member.
It should be the tire changer, the one that's actually hitting the lugs.
Let's say that there are 3. Well, let's just say that it's on more than one wheel. Then I guess you pick one. I don't know how that goes.
You say both.
They didn't clarify that.
I think you say both.
Okay.
It's on opposite wheels.
If you have 4 loose or missing lug nuts or more in both series, O'Reilly Auto Parts and the Truck Series, it's an automatic disqualification.
That's fair.
Okay. Let's see, what else do we got here? Finally, NASCAR announced that it can, at its discretion, hold up to 4 additional spots open for OEM, original equipment manufacturer, read Chevy, Ford, Toyota. In the first 3 races, now Ram, in the first 3 races of the Craftsman Truck Series season. It is interesting that they noted that because he just mentioned the name and I repeated it. This is all in order to ensure that Ram has a successful return to NASCAR. So if any of their 5 trucks should fail to qualify on speed at Daytona, Echo Park Speedway in Atlanta, or St. Petersburg, that truck would be added automatically to the back end of the field up to a 40 truck lineup.
I don't like this.
No?
I don't like it because, one, knowing that who dodges the team that dodges underneath
Cowlick, yeah.
Cowlick, they're not going to have a problem making the race on speed.
I wouldn't think.
They're not going to.
I mean, plus when you think about some of the people that they've turned around and gotten, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but, Brendan Butterbean Queen, Justin Haley is there, Daniel Dye is there. These guys are all veterans, especially Haley and Dye. They're all veterans of the upper levels of NASCAR, and Brendan Butterbean Queen has already shown that he's got the creds to be able to do it. Then you got a star truck out there, which is going to get some pretty big names, one of which got confirmed this week, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. I'm not really seeing this as being a major problem for them. Plus, here's the other part that you have noted, and it bears repeating here. All you're really doing is hanging a Ram truck body on an otherwise spec deal because the engines are all Ilmor engines. It's not like Dodge is building a Ram, putting a Hemi under the hood. It's an Ilmor engine, just like the Chevys, Fords, and Toyota trucks to run too.
Yeah.
So all they're doing is hanging a Ram truck body on it.
That's all they're doing. One.
That shouldn't be that big of a learning curve.
No, it shouldn't. No, because with Dye, Haley, Queen, the pilot of the 25 at Daytona, I'll just say it in that form.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 5th truck of this going to be the winner of the Ram race for the seat competition.
Yeah, the reality show.
Which
That may be the bigger question.
Which I'm pretty sure I know who it is based off of
Hints that you're getting.
Well, not based off of hints that I'm getting, seeing who the field of drivers were.
Oh, okay.
In that versus who I seen testing at Daytona getting ready.
Well, then there's that, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I know who won it.
Okay.
So if that one wins it right there.
Should not be a question?
Shouldn't.
Okay. Because, I mean, of all the 5 trucks, I would have said that's probably the wild card because, again, it's a reality competition winner. And we don't really know, but you're confident in that driver's talent if it is that way.
But said reality show competition winner is a very, very, very solid competitor. I'll say, as a possible clue, he's a very solid competitor on a national late model series.
Okay. All right. I mean, there's a part of me, I understand your point. Don't get me wrong. I don't have as big a problem with it because, again, as much as Stellantis/Ram is putting into this, I'm not really all that concerned about it. Truth be told, I'd love to see a 40 truck field.
At a super speedway.
Heck, I'd love to see the massive carnage at Martinsville. I think it'd be funny. Because, I mean, let's face it, we know we'd see a bunch of bent sheet metal at a Martinsville or a Bristol.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the fun of it.
Yeah, and then some.
So there you go. All right, so let's switch into some regular news. We start off with the Cup Series here because I keep thinking we've reached a low point in society, and then somebody comes in and limbos under the bar. And this person is lower than a snake.
Pretty low.
There's got to be certainly the most sickening news of the year, at least so far, and maybe of the year period, and we're only middle of January. Authorities out of Mooresville, North Carolina report that they are investigating a break-in at the home of Greg Biffle and family. Of course, we reported the sad news that Biffle, his second wife, and his 2 children, along with 3 others, passed away in a plane crash just outside of Statesville, North Carolina, the week before Christmas, and now we got a report on some moron or a couple of morons breaking into their old home. The incident got reported to Iredell County, North Carolina Sheriff's Department authorities Thursday a week ago. The report, which came out earlier this week, says someone forced their way into the home, got into a safe, things identifying as being taken, a backpack, and some $30,000 in cash, along with firearms and Greg Biffle memorabilia. No arrests have been made. The investigation continues.
Pathetic. It just is terrible.
I get it. Criminals are low lifes in the first place, and I'm just going to state it flat out.
Yep.
This right here is the lowest of the low. And what are you going to, I mean, I get it. $30,000 in cash and firearms. Yeah, okay, I understand that. What are you going to do with the memorabilia? You can't sell that.
No.
The moment you try and sell that any place, online or at a pawn shop, you're going to get found out.
Somebody's going to know, yeah.
You've taken something you can't get rid of. That is an albatross around your neck, and I'm happy that it is. I hope it weighs you down to the point where you can't move an inch.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. And that's when I seen this, I just shook my head like, why? Why?
I can't explain it. I have no explanation. I have said in the past, I would like to figure out what possesses people to be able to do stuff like this, but at the same point in time, I'm afraid if I got into that head, it would screw me up.
Probably.
And I don't want to be that screwed up. I'm screwed up enough as it is. I don't need to be that screwed up.
In a positive sense, the memorial they had yesterday for him in Charlotte, I seen that went
yeah,
really,
the turnout
really good.
was fantastic.
It was, and the crazy thing about when they done the burnouts in downtown Mooresville, I seen the photo of it. Garrett Mitchell, Cletus McFarland, him and Greg very close. They brought his stretch limo.
I saw that. I did. I saw the highlight of that.
Brought a stretch limo up there and was going to do the burnout all the way down Main Street. But the engine let go, and the big block engine let go in 16 seconds.
Oh, gosh. How appropriate.
16 seconds.
And speaking of Cletus McFarland, the thing that he's doing this year, and he's putting it on all of his cars. He put it on the stretch limo. If you look down the side of it, on his race cars, on the off chance and opportunities that he's going to get maybe to run in one of the top 3 levels of NASCAR, he is going to have a hashtag phrase "Be like Biff" on every single car.
Yep.
And that's fantastic.
Yep. I know for sure he's running Daytona, Talladega, and 3 other races in ARCA, and possibly more. Maybe in another location. Don't know yet.
Yeah.
But he's got the goal, and he's set out for it, and you can tell that he's doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
That Greg wanted to help him get to the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
But something that he uncovered in an interview that I saw, that Greg was working on getting a ride for Daytona for the ARCA race to race with him.
Oh, wow.
And they had it arranged up. They had it arranged up because Greg, everybody knows him as Squirrel, that does all the videoing for Cletus on YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he's gotten his approval and everything. He's going to run the short track race at Hickory for Rhett Jones, the same team that Cletus drives for.
Nice.
And he's going to go through the approval process, and possibly next year, him and Cletus is going to race heads up at Talladega.
Oh, okay.
Super Speedway.
All right.
But there was a deal going to be worked out too. Cletus, Squirrel, and Greg were going to race at Talladega next year. But I'll say right now, and I will hedge every single bet that I can hedge. If he doesn't win Daytona, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Either way, that's going to be a real popular look.
Yeah.
Real popular look. All right, when we come back, got some sponsorship news, and if you've ever heard anybody at a concert or just at random, like at a racetrack, yell, "Freebird!" Well, in this case, they have a chance to do it for more than just trying to get either the person running the music over the PA or the band that happens to be playing the concert to play the song. Details coming up.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in, talking about the Cup Series here as we have kicked off, talking about the new Chase format. Playoffs are out. The Chase is back, and some of the other things that have been going on. A couple of things sponsor-wise. Hayek Motorsports has signed an old kid's favorite as a new sponsor for the number 47 Chevrolet of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It is Chef Boyardee. I haven't heard about these guys in a while. It's kind of a two-level deal. Makes them a 3-race sponsor plus an associate sponsor for the remainder of the year. The look that you see on CRN Live on YouTube, if you're there, going to be on the car for the Clash at Bowman Gray for the Daytona 500, and that look is going to also adorn the car at the spring race at Talladega. And then it'll be on the, like I said, as an associate for the remainder of the year. Over at 2311 Racing, they got a new partner for Tyler Reddick. It's called SupplyHouse.com. They're a leading e-commerce supplier of HVAC, plumbing, and electrical supplies. Deal puts them on the hood for a number of races, the first of those being Spring Kansas. The other races haven't been released at this time. Supply House was founded in 2004, offers professional-grade supplies for plumbing, HVAC, and electrical contractors, professionals, and DIYers. Marks the first time the Supply House has ventured into a major sponsorship in any kind of pro sports, so good luck to him. I hope it works out well for him.
Some of the Bob Pockers just shared some of the notables that are spread out through the Chili Bowl field for today. ARCA driver Ryan Roulette is in the L main.
Okay.
Santino Ferrucci's in the J.
Wow, that's pretty good for him.
Josh Balicki's in the G.
Okay.
Sheldon Creed is in the E. Dylan Welch is in the D main. JJ Yaley and Ty Gibbs are in the C main.
Okay.
Corey Day and Jesse Love are in the B main, and of
I heard
course
Jesse Love got into a pretty big wreck.
after the checkered, yeah, he took a wild ride.
All right. Hopefully they were able to get that car fixed.
They was, and of course the two usual culprits in the A main locked in already: Kyle Larson and Chris Bell.
Yeah, we're all shocked by that, I'm sure.
Very.
Let's see. This is Christopher Bell's teammate over at Joe Gibbs Racing. This gives people just another reason to yell Freebird. And, you know, we all do that. Or we've all heard it, I can guarantee you, even if you haven't done it. Joe Gibbs Racing has announced the addition of a company called Freebird Southern Spring Bottled Water to be a sponsor on the 19 of Chase Briscoe. Company is a primary sponsor for 3 races this coming year: Spring Darlington, Summer Atlanta, and the Roval race in October at the Chase. This follows up on Briscoe and Freebird having come to terms on a personal services contract last October. I've never even heard of this brand. I didn't even know it existed.
I haven't either.
So, I don't know. Maybe they're good. We'll see. Spire Motorsports has signed a multi-year extension of their partnership with the casual dining restaurant chain Chili's. You might remember last year or the past couple of years, they've done a fairly popular kind of a promotion called Ride the Dente. You can see that car right now on CRN Live on YouTube. Probably is going to change a little bit as we head into the 2026 season, but probably not much different there. I mean, this is a look that not only included a look for the cars, but like different fire suits for Carson Hocevar, which made it kind of try to look like he was wearing a pair of jeans or overalls. They're going to be back on the 77 of Carson Hocevar. The first time that they will be at COTA. That's, of course, where Chili's is based. Their home base is Texas. So go there. And a lot has been made of Chevrolet's updated body on the Camaro racer, despite the fact that Chevrolet actually no longer builds the model for the road. Ford is looking ahead to next year when they're going to debut a brand new road-going Ford Mustang Dark Horse SC. The production model set to hit the dealerships in the streets later this year. You're about to be able to see it on CRN Live on YouTube if you're there. There will be a NASCAR version of that particular model, specifically Ford Mustang Dark Horse SC. Again, the picture that you see up there right now is the street version developed alongside Ford's GTD Supercar and Mustang GT3 racers and was extensively tested at both Virginia International Raceway and Sebring. We haven't seen a NASCAR version of that yet. We'll wait to see it. But here's the thing. Effectively, Ford is looking to, considering the fact that they no longer build the GT40, which I'll get back to that here in just a second, they're trying to build a street-legal race car with specifics to be announced is what it sounds like to me.
Good for them. Huh. Interested.
Yeah. So, specs, don't know. I imagine it's going to be a very high horsepower street car. Don't know what the price is going to be. That ought to be interesting to find out. You came across a situation where one of the original old GT40s went across the auction block and came up with a pretty hefty number.
Yeah, extremely. There was a GT40 that was. Let me go back and look at it and get the details, of the specifics of it. 1966 Ford GT40 Mark II factory lightweight that's sold at Mecum. There's only one of three, and this particular one is the most original Mark II in existence.
Oh, hello.
Just sold for $11.25 million, making it the second highest ever sold car in Mecum history.
Whew. Dang. I'm glad somebody's got that money. I don't. Somebody does. Let's see what else we got going on in the world. How about some O'Reilly Auto Parts Series news? Rockingham Speedway has re-signed their major and title partners for the race weekend after seeing a sellout weekend for the trucks in what is now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. North Carolina Education Lottery will be the title sponsor of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Black's Tire Service will be the title sponsor for the Craftsman Truck Series race the weekend of April 3rd and 4th. Talladega's got a new title sponsor for the fall chase race in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series in a group called the Progress Group. The race will be kind of abbreviated. It'll be called the TPG 250, take place October the 24th. This is a company that's been providing services for industrial manufacturing and engineering firms to help keep things running smoothly. They've got over 150 companies that are using their services, even the U.S. Department of War, what we used to call the Department of Defense. So they have come on board to be the fall O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race sponsor, title race sponsor. Then there's Viking Motorsports. They've got two new partners coming in for the new drivers of Parker Retzlaff and Anthony Alfredo. They're going to bring in longtime series sponsor Dude Wipes, who will appear on Anthony Alfredo's ride, the number 96 Chevrolet. It's a partnership that Alfredo has had with Dude Wipes for many years now, and it happens to benefit Viking in this case. And then there's Retzlaff in the 99 car. Funkaway continues their partnership with Retzlaff, which is going now on 5 years, sponsoring him as he's risen up through the NASCAR ranks. Both are going to be on the hoods of their respective rides at Daytona as the 2026 season open, and they're all going to adorn the hood numerous times throughout the year. And then what I think really is maybe the bigger surprise is the fact that it took this long for us to get the official announcement, because otherwise this is not a surprise to anybody. Richard Childress Racing announced on Tuesday that Austin Hill is going to be back in their number 21 Chevrolet. The Bennett family of companies is back as their anchor sponsor. This will mark the 5th year that Bennett will be sponsoring Hill and be in that 21 car. Again, I think the biggest surprise is the fact that it took them this long to make that announcement.
Yeah, Georgia on Georgia deal right there. That's because they're Hill being from Georgia and Bennett being based in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a surprise.
No, not really. Not at all. I did hear something about Corey Heim in the fact that he's not going to be full-time this year. He's basically getting rides as catch can. But from everything that I think it was Bob Pockris was saying, he's going to get several opportunities to run in a 4th 2311 racer in the Cup Series this coming year. So that means somebody's kind of on a hot seat.
Riley Herbst.
Just noting. Okay. Well, let's get back to this. To the Craftsman Truck Series. News that is kind of both, yes, it is, and kind of, no, it's not a shock. So when Ram announced they were going to be returning to NASCAR in the Truck Series, we noted that one of the 5 trucks they're going to field in conjunction with Calig Racing was going to be a Star Truck, and we talked about that just a few minutes ago, right? There were a whole lot of rumors that came out about who might and who might not show up in that car. Casey Kane was rumored to be in the car and several other names. And there was some talk about maybe Tony Stewart appearing. And there is the connection there. I mean, he does, after all, run the Dodge brand in the NHRA. Stewart had bowed out of NASCAR pretty quickly after the 2024 season, said he had a kind of a distaste in his mouth for the way the things in the series were heading. But again, ties to Dodge, Mopar, running the brand in the NHRA has all led him to pair with Calig Racing for one race this coming season. He is going to be in the truck for Calig at Daytona, the season opener. This marks the first Truck Series race for him since 2005. I didn't realize it had been that long.
And his first Truck Super Speedway start.
True. 3-time Cup Series champion said, quote, "I've raced just about everything with 4 wheels at Daytona, but never a truck. So when a seat in the new Ram was offered up in their first race back in NASCAR, I didn't hesitate. Rams free agent program is another way for me to stay sharp and have a little bit of fun. And let's face it, he's not a bad choice either.
No.
If you discount Dale Earnhardt, which I know is very, very difficult for people to do, but if you look at the list, Dale Earnhardt's number one for all-time wins at Daytona. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. Just race wins at Daytona. Number two, Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart's got 19 wins across the Cup, what is now O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and the IROC Series as well. He's got 4 wins at Daytona in Cup. No, not a Daytona 500. All those 4 wins came in the summer race. He's got 3 dual wins, 3 Clash wins. You remember when the Clash was held at Daytona. 7 wins in what's now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and 2 wins in the old IROC Series at the World Center of Racing, as the track touts itself. Smoke is going to be in the number 25. Cowlick promises a lot of different names in that truck throughout the season, but he gets to christen that truck. I'll be checking it out.
Interesting to see.
Speaking of Cowlick, got a sponsor for Daniel Dye in the 10 truck, and considering the commitment that Stellantis and Ram trucks have made for the season, shouldn't be any surprise that Mopar is going to be on the hood for, I think, the entire year. Mopar, if you didn't know, is the performance parts, accessories, and service division of Stellantis, mainly for Chrysler, Dodge, and Ram, and yeah, some Jeep. Mostly the American brands, if you want to go that way. Let's see what else. In the wake of the announcement that Ross Chastain's going to run the max number of races in 2026 that a Cup Series regular can run, up to 8 this coming year, and Ross Chastain will indeed run 8 for Nice Motorsports. They continue to fill out the driver roster of their number 45 Star Truck, and they've announced that Hayek Motorsports driver Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to pilot the truck in the first 2 races of the year. He'll be behind the wheel of the 45 at Daytona and at Echo Park Speedway in Atlanta before he'll then turn the truck over to Landon Lewis and Ross Chastain, who will then split driving duties throughout the remainder of the year. This will mark Stenhouse's Craftsman Truck Series debut. I don't think most people knew that. He's got almost 600 starts in what's now the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and the Cup Series. He has never started a Truck Series race.
This one was the more surprising one than Stewart's non-super speedway start. I thought he had made a few.
Yeah, I thought he had too. But yeah, he's going to get that chance. We talked about Landon Lewis. Landon Lewis is still not of age to be able to run the tracks mile and a half and longer. Is that right? Not until later this year?
Correct.
So that's why Stenhouse comes in. He gets to run Daytona and Atlanta. Chastain has the schedule that he's got. Landon Lewis is doing all the ones that are less than a mile and a half until he turns 18.
Yeah.
Which happens, what did you say, July? Or August? Somewhere in that area? Somewhere in that area, if I remember hearing correctly. I'll let you look that up while I talk about this. Connor Mosack signed to drive Spire Motorsports number 7 truck, star truck for that team. He's going to be in that truck for 12 races, a slate starting with the IndyCar doubleheader on the streets of St. Petersburg. Past that, races will include Darlington, Watkins Glen, Michigan, San Diego, Lime Rock, Indy, New Hampshire, Bristol, the Roval, Phoenix, and the season finale at Homestead, Miami.
He's old enough to run super speedways now.
Is he? Or maybe they're just not confident yet, and they want him to get his feet wet at the shorter tracks.
I would say that's a smart thing because considering that's Kevin Harvick's protege that he does a lot of work with.
Yeah.
Kevin probably had a loud ear into that.
Bring him up the right way.
Yep.
We know one of the drivers that Team Rayoma is going to use in the number 2. His name is Luke Baldwin. Baldwin's all of 19 years old. He's a Mooresville, North Carolina native. He's been tearing up short tracks in and around the Carolinas and has, to his credit, among his credits, I should say, back-to-back Smart Modified Tour titles from 2024 and 2025. He's also won races at the Cars Pro Late Model Tour, helped Rick Ware Racing secure a team title in that division. This move gives him back into Ford, which is his preferred brand. Team Rayom also announced their crew chief lineup for 2026. Pedro Lopez and spotter Will Rogers remain with Frankie Muniz on the 33 truck. That's a full-time truck. Then there's the star truck, the 2 truck. Crew chief is going to be Todd Myers. Spotter, NASCAR veteran Eddie DeHaan. Truck that's going to, again, have a number of drivers throughout the year. Not a bad spotter.
Interesting.
Not a bad spotter to have.
Very interesting.
And things shifting around a little bit over at Thor Sport Racing. Jake Garcia has been re-signed. He will compete in his 3rd full-time season in the upcoming Craftsman Truck Series. He's going to be in the number 98 Ford F-150. Curb Records will be a primary sponsor along with Quanta Services. They've been a longtime sponsor for Garcia. As for the 13 truck, which Garcia, I think, did run some races in last year, or a majority of races in, one of the 2. ThorSport has signed a kid by the name of Cole Butcher to be the full-time driver there. Butcher, kind of old to be a rookie, but 29 years old in 2026, comes out of Nova Scotia, Canada. Comes up from a late model series like the ASA Maritime Pro Stock Series. He's also driven in the Southern Super Series. He's got 2 rather prestigious Oxford 250 wins. You say, I've never heard of the Oxford 250. Go look it up. That's a pretty prestigious race, and he's got 2 of those in his back pocket. Kind of a premier late model event there. He's got 2 Truck Series starts. Both of them came with Hallmar Friesen Racing, and strangely enough, he finished both of those races in 23rd place.
Yep. Once he gets some good seasoning on him, he'll be good.
I was about to say, what do you know about Cole? I mean, again, 29 seems a little bit...
Really good late model racer.
A little bit on the high side to be making your debut, but not totally unheard of. I mean, we've seen this before. Drivers kind of flying under the radar, and suddenly somebody realizes, hey, listen, we ought to give this guy a shot.
Yeah. He's solid.
All right.
He's solid.
Going to be fun to see how that works out for him. All right, hour 1 in the books here. Hour number 2 coming up next. We're going to talk some straight line racing here because the IHRA is indeed putting their money where their mouth is. Not only are they investing a lot into tracks around the country, but they're going to put out some pretty big prize money for those who win in the Outlaw Nitro Series, Top Fuel and Funny Cars specifically. We'll detail that, and we'll talk about the NHRA's 75th anniversary. More celebrations continue.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hour number 2 underway here as we are rolling on the flagship station in East Central Alabama, 95.1 The Mountain. Also on YouTube, CRN Live. Producer John is in control there. Say hi to him if you happen to be over there. To the NHRA and the IHRA. We start off with the IHRA because they have been making some really big moves. And what they've now done this week, they finalized their 2026 Nitro Outlaw Series schedule. It seems kind of interesting that it's only about, 11 races, I think it is, with the Triple Crown included.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12.
12 races, okay. They're going to kick off everything, and you'll see this slate here up on CRN Live on YouTube here in a moment. In Benson, North Carolina's Durana Motorsports Park, and then they're going to go to Virginia Motorsports Park in early April, early May. They're going to be in kind of what would be our backyard, Montgomery International in Montgomery, Alabama. May, they're going to be at Maple Grove Raceway. That'll be over the weekend, May 22nd through the 24th. I believe that's Labor Day weekend, or Memorial Day weekend?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Early June, Durana, Milan Durana in Ohio. Then you got late in June at the National Trail Raceway in Ohio. Early in July, they're going to be at Milan Durana again. And then Empire Dragway in New York late in July. August, they're going to be at Dragway 42. I mean, this is actually a pretty interesting one. They are planning. Now, remember this. We took a look at some of those pictures here last week after they announced they bought Memphis Motorsports Park. There's a lot of work to be done. They're saying they're going to have that track race ready September 10th through 12th. Go for it.
That's a lot of work to do, but if it's going to be ready, go for it.
Early in October, another track they just bought over the holidays, Heartland Topeka, Durana Heartland Motorsports Park. They say that'll be ready to go. I think that's much more likely to happen as far as being in really, really good shape. And then you see there, October 22nd through the 24th, they're going to have what they're calling the World Finals. Interesting to note, they haven't figured out what track they're going to go to yet. So I'll be interested to see when that finally happens.
Yep.
Now, with all that money laid out for all those tracks that they've bought, for all those tracks that they're now affiliated with, and all those tracks that they're putting that money into to refurbish and get up to racing situation, how much money do they have to actually pay out to the winners? Pretty good amount.
Solid.
Purses for those Outlaw Nitro events got announced. The event winner, $50,000. The runner-up, $25,000. Just making it to the semifinals nets a driver $20,000. If you just get into the bracket and lose in the first round, you're going to take home $15,000. For those who are missing the finals bracket, you qualify 9th through 12th, you'll still get $7,500 each. You can see that breakdown right there on CRN Live. And you also see the breakdown for the other divisions, but if you look right up at the top Fuel and Funny Car, that kind of, shows you the commitment that they've got. And again, that is a commitment that goes down through, because you can see where several of those, even if you don't qualify and get into the finals bracket, you're going to take home some prize money.
Right.
And that's pretty good. In addition to that, the prize purse for the top 3 in each division got announced as far as champions are concerned. Winner of the Outlaw Nitro Top Fuel division is going to gain a $200,000 bonus. Second place nets $75,000 and $50,000 for third. Same for Funny Car. All those other divisions are now on a table that you can see on CRN Live on YouTube as well if you happen to be there. And if you're not, you can go back and look at it later once you get into hour number 2, and you can kind of see the breakdown. And again, this is a pretty significant output to the point where it totals $1.6 million amongst all the different divisions they're going to be running.
Yep. Right.
Good outlay.
Yep.
And then I kind of hinted to it just a moment ago. There's going to be what the IHRA is terming the Triple Crown. There'll be 3 set-aside races specifically for extra money available. Maple Grove in May, National Trail in June, Memphis in September, where the top divisions will be able to claim a $1 million payout if you can sweep the trio of races. If you just win any one of the 3, Top Fuel and Funny Car get a $150,000 bonus, $50,000 for running up, and just making the semis will net you $40,000. Double that up, obviously, if you win 2, but if you happen to, again, sweep all 3, $1 million. That's a nice little incentive right there.
That's extremely solid.
Congratulations to the IHRA. You guys are really, really coming in and shaking things up. I like it. Over to the NHRA side of things, last week we talked on the show about how Skag Racing is expanding to a 2-car Top Fuel team. They're going to add a ride for driver Will Smith. No, not the rapper actor. He's going to have veteran NHRA crew chief Glenn Huzar calling the shots. Well, turns out they're going to be co-crew chiefs. Skag has announced that for that Bluebird Turf Top Fuel ride, they have brought on another NHRA veteran in Scott Okahara. The interesting thing is Okahara has never been a crew chief in the NHRA. He's been a car chief for several teams in his time in the series. The team has said, again, Bluebird Turf is going to be their primary sponsor throughout the 2026 season. It's a pretty good-looking car right there. Skag says they and their other Top Fuel team with driver Justin Ashley and crew chief Tommy DeLocco going to help this new team get up and running quickly. Putting him in a situation where he's a co-crew chief, even though the fact that he's never been any and I say this lightly, being a car chief is nothing to sneeze at.
No.
But you've never been a crew chief, so he's going to be a co-crew chief in this case. It's kind of like crew chief in training?
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay.
That's a fair way to look at it.
All right. This came out just yesterday. And we had been kind of wondering what was up when two-time defending Funny Car Division champion Austin Prock left John Force Racing right after the season came to a close. Excuse me. Took a couple of months for us to find out. What we now know is that Prock is going to be running in 2026 for Tasca Racing and Bob Tasca III. They'll pilot Ford Mustang Funny Cars this coming year. In order to help facilitate the move, Tasca is going to step out of the car just to concentrate on the operations of the team and the new partnership with the Prock family, because not only does Austin Prock come in as the driver, the pilot for this ride, he's bringing along his dad, Jimmy, and his brother, Thomas, to help get the car prepped for and on race day. And they've done pretty well for themselves, too, when you think about it. Prock's got 21 event wins, 17 of them just from the past 2 years with John Force Racing, and he's claimed 2 division titles. You might remember him from Top Fuel exploits, and then he shifted over to Funny Car on a full-time basis, and it netted him really, really well. Here's the deal, though. We know what John Force Racing has, obviously. We've seen it. We saw where both he and his 2025 racing teammate Fast Jack Beckman were just basically dominant.
Right.
Now he's shifting over here, and I'm sure that it's a great deal for him. There was a great deal between him and Tasca that got worked up.
Yeah.
I'm sure of that.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same point in time, you knew what you had in that John Force Racing ride.
You knew what you had and then some.
So it is kind of a surprise that you're going to be willing to step out of a championship pedigree winning car to go to Bob Tasca and try and say, okay, let's see if we can build you up into that.
Tasca and Ford, they've got fast cars.
I'm not doubting that. I'm not saying that they don't.
Cars,
and I know that they've won events.
But
they have been vastly overshadowed by the very big, long, tall shadow that John Force Racing lays out.
Very.
So it's a little surprising to me.
Yeah, it is. It is, but best way to say it is time will tell.
Yeah.
That's about the only way you can say it.
Okay. All right.
Because you got to see how his dad and his uncle gel with getting the car together, combined with how Tasca and their program operates.
Yeah. And
that's where you got to see.
And that maybe, and again, we don't know the inner workings of it. Maybe there was some butting of heads inside the hallways at John Force Racing. Maybe.
May have been.
Don't know. All right, so then we get into the celebrations. The big one is the fact that they're expanding out the list of their all-time drivers from 50 to 75 in conjunction with their 75th anniversary. The latest addition of 5 drivers to the NHRA Top 75 driver list include Antron Brown, Ron Capps, Greg Anderson, Matt Smith, Don Fletcher. Brown, of course, worked his way up from being an Olympic sprinter into the NHRA, started in Pro Stock Motorcycle, moved up to Top Fuel. He's got 4 Top Fuel championships, and between Top Fuel and Pro Stock Motorcycle, 80 event career wins. No-brainer there.
No.
Ron Capps, another no-brainer. 3-time Funny Car champion, 77 national event wins to his credit. Can't beat the resume there. Greg Anderson, who has, he's got only the winningest driver in Pro Stock Car history to his credit. He's got over 100 wins and more than 1,000 round wins to his credit, not to mention those 6 division titles. Oh, yeah, those. I guess he's kind of qualified. Matt Smith comes in from the Pro Stock motorcycle ranks to join the list. 42 event wins, 59 number 1 qualifiers, He is, by the way, the current speed record holder for the division when he posted a couple of years ago a 205.04 mile per hour run. Oh, and he's also a 6-time division champ. And then there's Don Fletcher. He's considered one of the best in the sportsman division of the NHRA ever. Over 100 national event wins, and those come across 6 different sportsman divisions.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that the NHRA is following through on their promise to make sure that they will include the sportsman divisions in this, because there are some very deserving drivers now.
It's only fair.
Yeah. Speaking of the 75th anniversary, they're not just limiting it to announcing the addition of 25 drivers to the NHRA best list. They're now breaking out a list of the top 75 moments in NHRA history. We missed the first week. So I'm going to get you from, and these are going in order from 75 to 1. I'm going to give you some more details here on the numbers 65 to 56. And again, I'll explain more on that in a moment. But basically, it's because I missed the first week of release. First up, Doug Kalitta. This will be number 65, besting Leah Pruitt in a winner-take-all championship finale in 2023. That allowed Kalitta to shake off 6 runner-up title finishes and claim his first ever NHRA Top Fuel title. Next up, Greg Anderson's 2004 season in Pro Stock Car dominated the year, claimed 15 events that year alone, a division record in a year where 23 races were held in Pro Stock Car. Made the finals 19 times. Yeesh. That's like Max Verstappen in Formula One.
Yeah, no kidding.
First ever all-female Top Fuel final makes the list. Shirley Muldowney taking on Lucille Lee in the finals of the NHRA Spring Nationals. Hey, back when the NHRA ran National Trail Dragway, remember that? 1982, by the way. Muldowney, for the record, got the win. First ever NHRA Safety Safari Cross Country Tour in 1954 makes the list. It's something we detailed here on the show some weeks ago after the last remaining Safety Safari member passed away. Final edition was the 2007 crash that John Force suffered, caused injuries to both his legs and his hands in Texas. He had to undergo massive reconstructive surgery, a lengthy rehab, and despite some saying that might have ended John Force's career, spoiler alert, it was 2007, it wasn't. He not only recovered, but went through rehab so quickly and so well, he actually returned to the track later that year. Yee.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wheel stands, I don't know, were they ever new to the NHRA? They were kind of new, I guess, about 1974.
Somewhat.
To do one the entire length of the track? That's a show.
Yeah, that's definite show.
That's what Jim Lieberman did in the finals of the Summer Nationals. He lost it. Gee, I wonder why. He lost it that round to Al Segrini, but nobody remembered Al Segrini winning it. They only remembered Lieberman's start to finish wheel stand.
Yeah.
I understand why. One of the few times that the person who finishes in second place actually is more notable. 61 years ago now, when the NHRA arrived at the Winter Nationals, they saw something that hadn't been done before, but has been done many times after. A win by Don the Snake Prudhomme. Very first win by Don the Snake Prudhomme. Wow, cool. Did you know the NHRA Nationals have not always been held in Indianapolis? It's true. Very first one was held in Great Bend, Kansas, then went on to Kansas City before 1 year in Oklahoma City, then a couple of years in Detroit before finally the NHRA's Crown Jewel event moved to its current home where it still is, Indianapolis. 1961, first year for the Nationals at Indianapolis. And that's really now kind of considered home base for the NHRA.
It is. Yeah, because from where IRP is versus where a very large contingent of the shops are is not even 3 miles.
Yeah. And the funny thing is we've talked about how John Force Racing is based out of California. They do have a satellite shop in Indianapolis, or just outside of it.
Very large satellite.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing to sneeze at.
No.
First time ever that a driver claimed both the Top Fuel and the Funny Car event on the same day. Happened in 1991 at Topeka when Pat Austin pulled off the double win. And the 10th edition, number 56, Steve Torrance's countdown to the championship performance in 2018. Not only did he claim the title, he won all 6 events in the countdown and did it in style, marked his first of 4 straight titles in that division. Mm-hmm. Previously announced 10 that weren't as well publicized upon their releases, is why I missed it, and I apologize. So from number 75 to 66, at 75, Shirley Muldowney's crash in Canada in 1984 caused numerous injuries to her. She recovered. She was back at the wheel the next season. Hector Arana being the first to break the 200 mile per hour barrier in Pro Stock Motorcycle in 2018. Andrew Hines breaking the 6-second barrier. He pulled a 6.991 ET at the Gator Nationals in 2005. First time ever a sub 7-second run was made on a motorcycle in the NHRA. Don Prudhomme besting Jim Nickel in 1970 at the NHRA Nationals, what happened to be live on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Remember that? Nickel suffered an exploding clutch that actually split his car in half. Prudhomme said at the time he was worried that Nickel was killed, but he ended up walking away. 5-second barrier broken in Top Fuel for the first time in 1972 by Mike Snively at the NHRA Super Nationals. That marked the first time any entry in the NHRA had pulled a sub 6-second run in NHRA history.
Yep.
All of those events, top 75 moments in NHRA, and more to come, and we'll detail them as we go along. What we're going to do is we're going to let Matt go home, get some rest.
Yeah, I'm not feeling too swift this morning.
Yeah, boy, you can kind of tell it in his voice here. I'll soldier on here in the studio alone with producer John on CRN Live on YouTube here as we talk a little Formula One. Got some IndyCar stuff. Got a little bit of racing stuff, just kind of more generalized because it's a story that also kind of affects several other sports, but it does have an effect on racing. So we'll talk about all that as we soldier on without one Matt Nicholson. Y'all have sit back, relax. We'll get into Formula One and a little tease look at the Cadillac F1 car next.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
Matt had to, of course, talked about it just before the break. He had to take off. He's just not feeling well. It's a combination of things. We've talked about the health problems that he's had over the past year or so. He's made no secret about it. And, it's just sometimes those things all catch up to you. So we want him to get home, get to feeling better. So I'll soldier on by myself here in the studio, producer John on CRN Live on YouTube, and we talk a little Formula One here. And the Cadillac F1 team, I got to give them a lot of credit. I mean, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. They've got to get that car ready. They got to get that car prepared and get it out on the track here. But their PR people, their people that are in charge of, for example, social media, they're doing just a bang-up job of kind of teasing everybody about the whole thing. And they've even done so in their first opportunity to get the car out on the track. They went to Silverstone this week, and they put the car out on the track for the first time ever. And, you couldn't do a full-speed run, but you could do a little shakedown under the auspices of F1. So they were able to do that, and this kind of got it a little bit more prepared for the upcoming Barcelona test. We'll give you a look at the car as it showed up at Silverstone, as it will appear at the test at Barcelona. All black, except for some silver highlights over the engine cowl, which is the Cadillac logo. That's it. But the thing about it is the way that they've done that black wrap look on that car, you might think, well, it's just carbon fiber. It's actually not. They've done it in such a way that it actually kind of takes away from some of the design elements. It de-emphasizes them, if you will. It was developed by GM and Cadillac team officials. They describe it as a stealth black with some silver. There you go. Team insists that this is a very distinct look from the official race livery, or the official look that we're going to see when they debut it during the Super Bowl in that commercial. Barcelona test will take place again next week, and then F1 has to wait through most of the month of February before sending all the teams to Bahrain for the 2 3-day preseason test sessions that'll take place before they head down under for the Australian Grand Prix and the season opener on March the 8th. So that's the car. It's not the final look, but that is the car, finally, for Cadillac. I'm trying to give you an extra long look at it in case you're trying to discern some of the details. But again, just the way that they did this whole thing, they said they did it in specifically a way to try to disguise some of the things that they are trying to accomplish for their debut year. Okay, see whether or not they actually can go out there. Again, they've done a great job, masterful job of doing a whole lot of PR stuff on the social medias and everything, and I think that they're doing a really, really great job overall in getting this car prepared because they're doing this in a really, really short amount of time. And they've got a really good driver duo in the veterans, Valtteri Bottas, Sergio Perez. Will that translate to the track? We'll just have to wait to find out. First actual couple of 2026 car looks came out just yesterday as we air live. Both of them came from Red Bull. The main team and their little sister organization, Racing Bulls, they went to Detroit and unveiled the blue Red Bull and the white dominant Racing Bulls looks. You can see right now the Red Bull look, and you think to yourself, that doesn't look terribly different. If you were to compare that blue to last year's blue, I think you would find that blue shows up a little bit brighter. Plus, that's the look of the car. Then you switch over to the Racing Bulls look, and to differentiate themselves, most of what was blue on the Red Bull turns white on the Racing Bulls look. So there you go. Those are the first two that have officially taken the wraps off of their cars. After being a rising star over at Alpine and their driver development program, being from really the first graduate of that particular driver development program to make the F1 team, his time behind the wheel of an F1 entry was very short-lived. The patience, and I'm used to this from Red Bull, patience wearing thin or whatever it is that you want to call it, only allowing a handful of races. But Franco Colapinto, he only lasted 6 races into the 2024 season before he got demoted in favor of reserve driver Franco Colapinto. Talking about Jack Doohan. Colapinto kept the car for 2025. Jack Doohan remained in the reserve driver role in 2025. Not going to be the case in 2026. Doohan said he just apparently didn't feel like that there was any chance of him moving back up into the F1 ranks, so he has left the team officially. He is, quote, pursuing other career opportunities, unquote, no longer affiliated with Alpine. A team statement read this, quote, BWT Alpine Formula One team confirms it has reached a mutual agreement with Jack Doohan to not continue his driving services with the team for the 2026 FIA Formula One World Championship season to allow him to pursue those other career opportunities. He has done some sports car stuff, maybe World Endurance Championship. I don't know. I haven't heard much of anything about the possibility of him potentially going to, I don't know, Formula E. No team is saying that. And right now, every one of the Formula E teams has their drivers and their reserve drivers set. So a little bit late for that. I think probably his best opportunity at this point in time would be World Endurance Championship. I think 24 Hours Le Mans, so on and so forth. Got big changes coming to both the cars, not as wide or as long and lighter in weight than the 2025 rides. We're going to kind of show you a picture here in just a second that show you the difference between the cars specifically from 2022, which came all the way up through to 2025, and the new car for 2026. And you can see with the nose of the car right up at the same line, effectively, that the car is not as long from front to back. It's not as wide from left to right. This does several things, obviously. It gets it back to the point where some of these tighter courses, Monaco, you might be able to see more passing. And it makes the cars a little bit lighter, makes the cars a little bit more nimble. Plus, we talked about the engines last year. Supposedly, they're going to give you a little bit more power, especially with some of that press to pass, so to speak, borrowing the Indycar phrase there. All of this stuff has the FIA single-seater director of racing, Nicholas Tombasis, to think that there's not going to be as big of a gap on the track from first to last as there has been, since all the teams are basically in the same situation. They're all trying to learn this new car. TalkToRacer.com talked about this and said this, quote, I would expect a factor to be the engine initially, the internal combustion engine, because we obviously have newcomers, we have new ICE regulations. There's going to be some initial differentiation there, but we believe that we've also put in place some procedures to be able to enable people to gradually catch up. So we believe there's a temporary matter in terms of performance differentiation. Then we have completely new aerodynamic regulations. Naturally, initially, there will be some solutions that are better, some are worse. There will be some initial convergence, I guess, over the first 6 months to 1 year. I guess it'll take some time for people to be able to converge aerodynamically. So initially in 2026, I would not expect to have quite as close a grid as we have had at the end of 2025, but I would also expect that once the convergence takes place, it'll be closer than it is now. When he was asked to clarify those last couple of statements, he said, quote, we're pretty sure that the converged performance should make for a smaller grid. Initially, I think there may be some variation, like one or two teams initially are in a little bit of trouble. They get it wrong. I don't think that determines how exciting a championship is, but what usually determines the championship is how close the people at the top half are. Let's say in terms of battling for points and wins, for example. And I think we will have a reasonably close field. This kind of equates when they debuted the Gen 7 car in the Cup Series. And we saw so many different teams in that first couple of years claiming wins. And now we're at the situation where the cream rises to the top, so to speak. And this isn't to say that all the other teams are all bad, but the big fishes in the different ponds, so to speak. The big fish in the Chevrolet pond is Hendrick Motorsports. How good are they doing when it comes to putting their cars into the playoffs or now the chase? Joe Gibbs Racing, Toyota. How good have they been at putting their cars into the playoffs, now the chase? Team Penske, along with the Wood Brothers organization, which is so closely affiliated with them, we might as well call them Team Penske's fourth car. How good have they been at putting teams into the playoffs, now the chase? And if you look at those three, that technically makes up 12. That's another reason why they didn't knock down the number of playoff or chase eligible drivers down to, say, 12, because it could have been dominated by 3 teams and 3 teams alone. So they wanted to make sure that the other teams had an opportunity to do that. But it was much more evenly spread until somebody figured it out. Now, here's the deal. They can do a lot more wind tunnel testing in the F1 than they can do in NASCAR. NASCAR keeps really, really tight controls over that, mainly because a whole lot of single source supplied parts. Whereas you can kind of build your own body in Formula One, so you're allowed a lot more wind tunnel time. Somebody might stumble upon something right off the bat, but we all know how these teams bring updates throughout the course of a season. And as soon as one team, and I'll just say Cadillac, looks at what McLaren, let's say McLaren hits upon something and they come out like a bat out of hell with their hair on fire, just winning everything. Every other team's going to look at it and go, okay, this is what they're doing versus what we've done. Let's work on this update and make our car look a little bit more like what McLaren has done. They've done this. We have that. This is vastly different. Let's make this a little bit more similar. You bring the update, boom. That's what he's talking about. Over the course of the season, things should tighten up. Will it happen? I don't know. That much I can't really honestly speak to. And then there's one more note here in Formula One. We'll take a break and switch over to IndyCar next segment, the last segment of today's show. Highest paid athletes in the world. Sportico has unveiled their list of the top 100 highest paid athletes of the year 2025. Are there any race car drivers in there? Yes. They all come from Formula One. Okay. Lewis Hamilton leads that, by the way, and he only comes in 11th. He brought in some $100 million last year between earnings and endorsements. Sitting in 15th, just off the screen that you got there on CRN Live on YouTube, is Max Verstappen. He brought in $75 million total. This is the equivalent U.S. dollars, by the way. Then the McLaren twins of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Norris came in 32nd, an estimated earnings of almost $60 million. And beside his earnings and his endorsements, Oscar Piastri lags well behind in 96th. Feel sorry for him. He only brought in about $38 million total in earning and endorsements. I don't know how he lives on that. Seems very difficult. Whatever. If you look at the top of the list, soccer, boxing, there's some baseball in there, some NBA basketball in there. There's even a golfer. If you're not on CRN Live on YouTube, here's the deal. Top earning athlete in the world, according to Sportico, soccer player Cristiano Ronaldo. Between his salary from playing soccer and his endorsements, the dude pulled in a rather paltry $260 million last year alone. Aw. Top earning athlete in the United States of America, baseball player, New York Mets player Juan Soto. Juan Soto racked up $130 million last year alone. For a game that is simple, if you remember the game or the movie Bull Durham. It's a simple game. You throw the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball. $130 million. Man, I wish I'd concentrated a lot more in Little League now. Dang. Soto was immediately trailed by Golden State Warrior Stephen Curry, LA Dodger Shohei Ohtani, Houston Rocket Kevin Durant there at 7, 8, and 9. Golfer John Rahm was in 10th. Top 11, including Lewis Hamilton, all made at least $100 million between salary and endorsements in the year 2025 alone. Wow. And even if you were to drop all the way to 100, there's nothing to cry about, man. Those guys are making multiple millions of dollars too. I want to cry. But hey, I love my job. I do. I mean it. I don't get paid much, but I love my job. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll shift gears. Tony Stewart got to talking at the Chili Bowl this week. He didn't mention NASCAR. He didn't mention the truck ride, really, or once he got past that, he got to talking about the Chili Bowl in and of itself and drivers from other series who could come and compete. And he kind of laid down a challenge. Next.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back. Appreciate you joining me here. I'm Steve West. Matt Nicholson taking off a little bit early, feeling a little bit under the weather, so we let him go to get into the recuperating stage here, and I'll just finish everything off. And we talked about this during the race recap and schedule. Tony Stewart is at the Chili Bowl Nationals in Tulsa, Oklahoma tonight. He's their grand marshal. Before that, this is a guy who, let's face it, he's done some pretty big things. He was the 1996 IndyCar Rookie of the Year, followed it up with the 1997 IndyCar Championship. He was the 1999 Cup Series Rookie of the Year, followed up with not just one, not just two, but 3 Cup Series titles over the course of his career. Plus, he was an IROC champion. He's been many, many things. Among them, not a shrinking violet. This is a man who you stick a microphone in his mouth, if he's willing to talk, he's going to tell you what he thinks. And he really doesn't care whether you like what his opinion is or not. And this time he is kind of taking some drivers from his time in IndyCar to task for not taking parts in events like the Chili Bowl. Now, we mentioned this at the beginning when we talked about the Chili Bowl and the fact that there kind of seems to be a line of demarcation or delineation between this. So the Chili Bowl National is a very, very prestigious event, right? But it seems like, for the most part, it's NASCAR drivers who will shift over and run the Chili Bowl Nationals. IndyCar drivers, on the other hand, if they're going to run something outside, like they always seem to do in the preseason, they're going to be gravitating more at this time of the year to the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. And there's a lot of practice that's involved in going to each, so it's not like it would be easy. You could, but it's not going to be easy to do both if you want to do well. But at the same time, at the press conference on Monday, Tony Stewart took part in that, and he talked about the drivers he would like to see take part in the Chili Bowl Nationals, but just wasn't very confident that many would. Smoke said, quote, on the IndyCar side, I just don't know. Outside of Santino Ferrucci, who we talked about how he's starting, I think Matt mentioned him in the L main, maybe even higher, I can't remember, said, I think Santino's the only one that's got the testicular fortitude, to borrow a phrase, to do it, or the passion to do it at least. I think IndyCar has a lot of guys that if you gave them the opportunity, they could do it, and they do it well. There's a reason, though, they've made it to their level of motorsports and IndyCars, because they are fantastic drivers. And Ferrucci took a shot at it last year along with Catherine Legg, but before that, you got to go back to 2022 for an IndyCar driver to choose the Chili Bowl over running something like the 24 Hours of Daytona. But Stewart also noted that some owners might have a problem with a driver giving something like the Chili Bowl a chance. Stewart thought about that and noted, quote, I think the hardest part about it is, when I came back and ran here, Joe Gibbs hated it. He did not want me running anything outside of the Cup car. And Stewart was racing for Gibbs when he won his first Chili Bowl. He was his own car owner for his second win. He finally noted that it may not be the drivers in and of themselves, but how they came up through the ranks that could be a problem as well. Quote, I think in this era, it's not like it used to be in the early days where you had guys that participated in all kinds of disciplines. Guys that get to IndyCar, they're very structured. They're very disciplined on the path to get there into what their goals are. Dirt racing doesn't fit into that path, unfortunately. I'm not really sure it does for NASCAR anymore. We've had some pattern of Ken Schrader and myself and guys who have come back and done it enough to at least break the barriers down so these guys can think about stepping into it. We know of several. Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell at the Cup Series level, for example, talked about the Josh Belickis and, other drivers from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and Craftsman Truck Series and even the Arca Menard Series who are going to be part of this all day long race fest that you will find on flowracing.com. But again, other than Santino Ferrucci, who has done it the past 2 years, Catherine Legg gave it a shot. She's not back this year. Other drivers that he was talking about, they've given it a shot, but they haven't really come back to it. And that is a shame when you think about it. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. But Tony Stewart seems to think that at least on a prestigious race or a prestigious event or prestigious trophy, this is at least on par with those. And I would say when you're talking about a bunch of one-offs, it's probably not all that far off. Those who regularly race IMSA would tell you, to be able to win the Rolex, that's one of the best prizes that you could ever get and one of the most prestigious event wins you could ever talk about. But again, if you're just doing a one-off, if you're a regular IndyCar driver who just happens to be going down there to run this one event, What's the difference? In the end, what's the difference? You're going after a Rolex over here. You're going after what they call the Golden Driller Award and the Chili Bowls. Both of them are very prestigious in and of their own right. More people have probably heard about the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona than ever heard about the Chili Bowl Nationals, but that doesn't make it any less prestigious. Same thing think about just not that long ago here in Alabama, we hosted at Talladega Short Track the Ice Bowl. That's a very prestigious dirt track event. Brings in drivers from all around the country, generally car counts in the 400 to 500 range. That number is a number that rivals what's coming at the Chili Bowl. And then you think about Snowball Derby at Five Flag Speedway. And that is a late model race that has attracted a whole bunch of people from all around the country and other countries as well to go to Pensacola. Same situation. These are very prestigious events. Just because we don't necessarily see them on the national stage doesn't make them any less prestigious. I think Tony's right to a certain extent, but again, I think to a larger extent, in having looked at it, okay, I'll put it that way. Jesse Love took a pretty bad crash right after the end of his heat race, or I think it was yesterday. That's, I think, what the car owners are worried about. And while these sprint cars are made as safe as they can possibly be made, I had a problem with it once it was pointed out to me by Matt when we got an up-close personal look at a sprint car 2 years ago. In the fact that you can literally see the drive shaft, and it's right between your legs. You're sitting on a seat that is a couple of inches, 3 to 4 inches tops, above the drive shaft. All it takes is one serious wreck to dislodge that drive shaft and you're impaled. You know? And this is nothing. I'm not saying anything that racers don't already know. This is a risk that you take for doing what you love. We all take risks to do what we love. Some of it's much more dangerous than others, but we all take risks to do what we love. You do it sometimes without a safety net. You know, producer John knows this as well as I do. You move from one market to another because you feel like you have an opportunity to be able to break in at that level. And it's what I did in 1997. I was, in small markets in and around the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia and the Panhandle of West Virginia for about a decade, and I just said I need to figure out whether or not I can make it in a market like Birmingham, Alabama. And I have been in and around the Birmingham market for the past almost 30 years. I've been very blessed, but I came down here with no job. I came down here without much of a safety net, and sometimes you got to do that. Racers do that pretty much every time they strap into a car, especially when you're talking about a sprint car. Close quarters racing, short track, and again, that drive shaft sitting right down there between your legs. And I think I would freak out a lot more than even Matt would. And Matt said, I'd think twice about getting in that car. And when you got the driver of this show saying he'd think twice about getting in that car, I kind of see it. That's the situation, though, that we get when we get these one-off specialty prestigious events like this. Sometimes the scheduling doesn't work out. Other times, there's just drivers that say they don't want to do it. It's kind of like Formula One drivers saying, well, I'm out of a Formula One ride, but I don't feel like I'm done racing. You could go to Indycar. Yeah, but they run ovals. It's kind of the same situation. And I hate to say it, but it's true. Some IndyCar media and insiders were asked about the upcoming 2026 season. Some of the things they said could happen this coming year, things to watch out for, milestones, in other words. Others are a little bit more about what might happen with driver movement, like Will Power, who's now over at Andretti Global. He's now in his first new ride since he joined Team Penske back in 2009. How is he going to adjust? So far, so good, at least according to him, although they've only been out for one practice session out at Phoenix to try and test tires for Firestone. Other things of note include the chance for Alex Palou to claim his 4th straight series title. And there are some people that are on CRN Live on YouTube who are not really all that big of a fan of Alex Palou. And a lot of it has to do with his contract situation, and I get that. But the truth of the matter is Alex Palou, even if you don't like him, he's a pretty good driver. 3 titles in a row and a chance to claim 4, and that is something that would only, if it does happen, be the second time in IndyCar history that a driver has claimed 4 straight championships in a row. The first time it was done by Sebastian Bourdais. He did it during the CART IRL split, too. So he claimed the titles from 2004 through 2007. So now, no longer the split, no longer a split of talent, might actually be a bigger deal. Sorry to say that for Sebastian Bourdais. I mean, winning 4 titles in a row is still an accomplishment, and Bourdais should be very proud of that, but below might actually be a little bit bigger deal because everything's united again. Speaking of Palou, he's got 19 wins so far in his young career. Seems pretty likely he'll claim at least one. If and when he does, it means he'll join the IndyCar 20-win club, which right now is a fairly elite club. It's only got 23 members. Scott Dixon, the 6-time champion, meanwhile, continues to rewrite many IndyCar records. If he can lead at least 23 laps in this year's Indy 500, that means he'll have led 700 laps in the Indy 500 over the course of his career in the famed race, and he's already got the record as leading the most laps in Indy 500 in his career. And he would just extend that. Scott Dixon doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime too soon. On the other hand, there's Prema Racing. You might remember this team, which just joined IndyCar just last year. And we talked about how towards the end of the year, they were talking about how they're dealing with some financial problems. We've detailed that in the past here, and to the point now where they have other problems regarding day-to-day management. The day-to-day management team has left the organization effective immediately, and it's kind of left the team in something of a lurch, kind of a quandary. Team co-founder Angelo Rosen, along with his son Rene and Rene's girlfriend Angelina Urzo, I hope I got that right, all left the Italian-based race team effective Monday of this week. And again, while they co-founded the team, the majority ownership was bought several years ago by a company called DC Racing Solutions, a company founded by Deborah Mayer and Claudio Schiavone. They haven't commented yet on the departures, but the team said before the trio left that they were committed to the 2-car IndyCar team set to field the number 38 and 83 for Callum Ilott and Robert Schwartzman, respectively. Both of those drivers are under contract for the 2026 season. The cars are ready, they've said, so they're all in. But right now, Prema has not secured a contract for engines for the upcoming season. This is a big deal considering we're at January 17th. DC Racing Solutions made it known after the 2025 IndyCar and European race seasons that they're seeking partners either to come on board as new sponsors for their race cars or new blood to come in and at least take a stake of the organization as a whole to get an influx of money either way. Another change is at the top, but we'll talk about that here in a second. For Prema Racing, this is a big deal because they came in knowing that they didn't have a charter. They weren't guaranteed to make races. Robert Schwartzman goes out there and comes just this close. I mean, just so shy of being the rookie of the year in a situation where he wasn't guaranteed to make every race. And Callum Ilott, he did a very respectable job. But again, they have no contract with either Chevrolet or Honda. It was Chevrolet last year. I can guarantee you those engines that would have been kind of set aside for Prema, Chevrolet is going to be more than happy to dole those out on a single race basis for the upcoming Indy 500 when we expand out from 27 starters to 33. So that's not a problem for Chevrolet. Technically, it's not a problem for Honda, but it is a big problem for Prema. Find out. Over at the Grand Prix Association of Long Beach, the promotional group behind the annual Acura Long Beach Grand Prix, the crown jewel race over there, current president and CEO Jim McCallion, he is slated to join Penske Entertainment for a role yet to be determined in full, and it ends a 51-year run with that race and that team. McCallion's now 82. He's worked with the Grand Prix Association in one form or another since 1975, from controller to chief operating officer and president up to CEO, the situation he's been in since 2001. His last day with the Grand Prix Association officially is July 1st, but he said he'll be an advisor to the new CEO and president, Jim Law, through the end of this year. Law moves into his role from his time as general manager of the performance racing industry. You remember us talking about the PRI show every year in Indianapolis. Generally, that's where NHRA drivers and teams come out and make a whole lot of announcements. He's been the general manager of that since 2021. Before that was the president of Formula Drift, a series he co-founded back in 2003. McCallion is set to oversee his final Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach April 17th through 19th of this year, and then Law will officially, again, take over. And then one final note, and this really deals more with sports in general, but it does have a racing aspect to it. The Trump presidential administration has clarified their visa rules that will allow foreigners to get into the United States. And the reason why they're doing this is because of the amount of international competitions that are set to come into the United States, not only this coming year, but in the next few years. I say this year because this year, North America, Canada, United States, and Mexico teamed up to host the World Cup soccer tournament. That's later this year. 2028 got the Summer Olympics being held in Los Angeles, and that's where 150 to 200 countries from around the world all come to one city to pair off and compete. And there are visa rules that the United States has where we have banned travel to and from the U.S. for people from about 40 or so countries. For this, those bans for the athletes participating has been lifted. But again, only for those athletes. If fans from those countries wanted to come to see either or both or any other event here in the United States, the ban remains in place, so they got to get special dispensation and permission to come in. Now, why would we mention the World Cup and the Olympics on a racing show, you might ask? Well, this affects racing because the administration included other major sports, called out several major leagues. Think the major stick and ball sports, NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL. They talked about the NCAA and all the colleges and all their sports as well. And then they also included NASCAR, making it easier to drivers coming from outside of the U.S. to come in and be able to compete at the top levels of NASCAR or ARCA. Another was specifically Formula One. And this is important because, as we all know now, they have 3 annual races here in the United States. I did find it kind of interesting to note that in looking at the preliminary list, while NASCAR was included and Formula One was included, neither IndyCar nor the NHRA were. They were left out. And both of those series have drivers coming into the United States from their native countries elsewhere to come to the United States to compete. But there was a cable that was set out by the Trump administration that went out to all U.S. embassies and consulates, noting that other events and leagues could be added at the discretion of the Trump administration. So I know President Donald Trump's got nothing better to do on a Saturday morning than to sit and listen to us here at CRN, right? Sure. Open note to the Trump administration. Make sure you include IndyCar in the NHRA. NASCAR and Formula One's great. Let's be completist, shall we? My thanks to Matt. Hopefully he's feeling better and gets better because, again, next week we're taking the week off. We're going to be at the NMPA conference up in Charlotte, North Carolina. So that means this show, the big show, will be back in 2 weeks. We do have a Cross Flags episode set. Probably going to be a home game set to record Tuesday evening. We'll set up a time a little bit later on. Thank you for checking us out. We'll talk to you again real soon.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.